Hi and welcome to Queer Idea. I'm Anthony Lekkas and my guests today are Matthew and Russ from My Other Closet, the Cabaret. Welcome guys.
Thank you.
So, My Other Closet, the Cabaret, what's that about?
Well, My Other Closet, the Cabaret is a project that we've been working on together for many years now. It's a bit of a unique thing. It's an education piece, it's a theatre piece, it raises awareness about domestic violence and LGBTI relationships, but does so in a manner that's, I think, hopefully engaging and enjoyable and entertaining.
So bringing domestic violence together with a cabaret show, how did that come about?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Who does that? How did it come about? I've been singing in a number of venues for a while. Matthew and I got together and in fact went to Adelaide Fringe, and we went to a whole heap of performances. And one night came back to our hotel room and thought, you know, we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy doing one-off gigs. And, you know, maybe we should do something that's a little more important. So what should we do? And
I'd studied production and film and had always been told if you have a unique insight into something, write about that. So we knew that Russell had previous experience of domestic violence in a same-sex relationship and thought, well, you can sing, you know, we can write a show, we can produce this. It sounds crazy enough that it might actually work, and that seems to be what's happening.
Right, because I'm interested about that, because domestic violence is an issue that is incredibly confronting just to talk about. It's not a sort of conversation you hear people have generally anyway. And to connect it to the entertainment industry, I'm wondering about any controversies around that. I mean, when we're discussing with such, you know, sensitive topics.
well, there's been plenty of controversy. You know, we've done a number of interviews promoting the show. We did a season in Sydney a couple of years ago, and a lot of promo interviews and whatever. And you know, of course, the wowsers and the people who are not comfortable with our lifestyles certainly.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting pressure from both the queer community and from kind of anti-marriage equality people, where the queer community is sort of going, oh, we shouldn't talk about domestic violence at a time like this because, you know, you're giving ammunition to this other group,
right,
who are going to, you know, say that our relationships aren't legitimate and
problematic, you know, anyway.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of many years of trying to convince or, you know, portray our relationships as valid and not you know, not actually a mental illness and worthy of the same respect. And so to come forward and say that actually sometimes they're toxic, some of the queer community have come back and said, you shouldn't be talking about this. And then interestingly, we've then found our promotional material on anti-marriage equality websites to say, like, look, here it is. This is why they shouldn't be allowed to marry. So,
I mean, it's highly political work to try and put a show together, isn't there, to get this message across. Can I ask, when we talk about domestic violence, and I agree that it's not something that's discussed enough in our community, what do you mean when we talk, when you say domestic violence?
Well, domestic violence is a number of things. Domestic violence can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be a whole range, it can be financial, it can be a whole range of things. My personal experience, which is where the show came from, was a little bit of all of it. And so, you know, I just felt that it was really important when I came out the other end of it, that experience needed to be put together and portrayed out into the community to show that there are positives. There's positives involved in your life when you move on.
So healing from domestic violence. And I'm wondering if this is part of what this cabaret show is about. It's a sort of journey. It's a sort of an outcome that where you've found a place to have healed from it. And is it therapeutic to be able to perform it in this setting?
It's the sort of show that you don't, you would never be able to do if it was therapy. You have to be healed because you've got to go back to those places all the time, and you know, for the audience to be able to have a real experience of it. So you need to be healed. You need to be healed.
So what role do either of you play in this show, in the Cabaret show?
Well, so it's a one-man show. Rusty is up there all on his lonesome. But I produce and direct and sort of co-wrote. We brought a professional writer along the way. We've engaged a dramaturge, which helps us kind of, you know, they're like a coach for the performance. But also, I think sometimes they act as mediator between us, working as a couple on something that we're both very passionate about.
Right.
Tends to sometimes, ironically, lead to conflict between us. So our fabulous dramaturge helps us iron out those kinks and make sure that we're both achieving, you know, what's right for the show, and that we don't also.
Let's just say it's an artistic collaboration.
Fairly sensitive topic. Your relationship is on. I mean, you're trying to sort of work on the show as sort of as colleagues as well as partners. So and around fairly sensitive information as well. So what do you expect to gain from producing a show like this? What outcomes are you hoping to achieve?
And I guess from my perspective, what I want is. You know, if there's anybody out there in the audience that's going through it or knows somebody who's going through it, that we give them something positive. We give them at least the answer that there is an answer to this, and yes, you can get out of it. You don't have to live in that sort of an environment. And so, yeah, we just need one person. One person out of the whole time that gets some benefit out of the show, and we've been successful as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I think even just talking about domestic violence and LGBTI relationships is in and of itself is raising awareness. You know, I hope people who watch this, you know, hopefully see that domestic and family violence isn't just men's violence against women. Like, that's definitely important, and statistically that's a very large number of who experiences this, but it does happen to LGBTI people, and I think without discussing that and raising that awareness, it's very difficult for LGBTI people to have the language to speak about it.
Right. Well, I'm glad we're talking about it today. Hopefully we can continue to talk about it. Thanks for coming on the show today, guys. It's My Other Closet, the Cabaret. Check out the website, and you've been watching Queer Idea. Thanks for watching.